Hi everyone, welcome back to my next video. Today's going to be a little different video than I normally try to do. I just make it my goal to encourage you and help you become nomads and have a better life as a nomad. But today I'm going to veer a little bit off topic. Today is November 2nd. Tomorrow is the election. And you know, when I think back at 2020, it has been quite a year, hasn't it? I mean, everyone you talk to, you start talking about current events or anything at all, and you just think, my goodness, what a year 2020 has been. Well, it makes me think of how important it is to be a nomad. And I'm getting a lot of letters from people who are saying, Bob, I was thinking about going out this year or early next year, but all these things that are going on, the pandemic and the social unrest and all these disasters. So I'm just thinking, I think I should be safe and just stay home. And in today's video, I want to assure you that the safest place you can be in 2020 or 2021 or any year in the future is living in a vehicle as a nomad. That is the future of this country. The future belongs to nomads, and the safest place you can be is living on wheels. And today I want to give you proof. I don't want to just throw out these wild thoughts. I want to give you proof today based on the incredible disastrous year that 2020 has been, that you will be better off if you choose to be a nomad than if you choose to stay at home in your sticks and bricks home. So when we think back about at 2020 and all that's happened, there are four things that just scream out at you. The first is, to me, it's the natural disasters. It's all the fires, it's all the hurricanes, it's all the droughts. I'm close to those, and I'll tell you a little bit about that later on. But it's been a year of unprecedented numbers of natural disasters. And then, of course, you can't think of 2020 without thinking of the pandemic. And I see them as correlated, and I'll show you how when we get there. But 2020 has been a time of this pandemic, and it has changed our whole world. And all of a sudden, we had this normal, safe world that we lived in, and all of a sudden, it was turned upside down. The world gone mad, and it's not safe in any way, shape, or form. So you had all these natural disasters. You have the pandemic. We have economic almost collapse on the corner, just around the edge of economic collapse. At any rate, we have real economic uncertainty. What is the future of the economy? 30 million people lost their jobs. People are very fearful of evictions. Will they get a job again? They've been laid off. Will they ever get a job again? So it's the economy is a tremendous fear for many of us right now. And that's one of the big ones. You think, I can't go out because how will I pay for it? And then finally, it's been a year of social and political unrest. Like I said, tomorrow, November 3rd, 2020, is the election. And what a year of politics and social unrest it has been, with all the protests turning into riots. Wow. It's been a year. And so that's just created a lot of fear in a lot of people. And they're thinking, oh, it's so dangerous now. I'm going to stay home. In this video, I want to assure you that the safest place you can be is living in a vehicle. So let me just go really quickly down those four issues that I described, and then I'll look at them a little more closely later in the video. How being in a vehicle can save the day and make you the safest you can possibly be. First, let's look at natural disasters. So California's on fire as I'm shooting this video, and so there's all these wildfires burning all over the West, and there have been 28 tropical storms formed in the Atlantic headed into the United States, and I believe 18 of them have made landfall, and that is unprecedented. That is the most, it's tied with 2005, and we will almost certainly beat 2005 by the end of the year. There's still another month in hurricane season. So it's been a year of unprecedented natural disasters. And it seems like they get worse every year. If you're older like I am, you can look back and see they're getting worse every year. And I'm going to prove to you in this video that they're getting worse every year. But right now I want you to see that living in a van is the way to be safe from natural disasters. So if California is burning down, you can get in your van and drive away. If you owned a home in paradise, could you drive away from that? No, the whole town burned down. I was in Medford, Oregon, when Phoenix, Oregon caught fire, and it's 10 miles away from my mother's and sister's house, and I was there. And so virtually that whole town just burned down. And of course, we were all under eviction notice. We had to be ready to go at a moment's notice. Well, I'd get in my van and take everything I owned away with me, but my mother and sister would lose everything they had in the world. And that moment, I became really super aware of the advantage of living in a van. First, I don't own much. What I own is important, really important, but I can replace every little bit of it, and I can drive away from a disaster, from a fire in a heartbeat. Then let's think about the pandemic. Well, the pandemic has hit in a rolling regional effect. So it began really bad in the Northeast. That's where it really was bad. In a few other places, California was pretty bad for a little while in the beginning. But then now Northeast is one of the best places in the country. So if you were in the Northeast last March, you could get in your van and drive away, and the pandemic wouldn't affect you. And now it's spreading, and now it's across the Midwest and the Sun Belt. Now it's kind of getting everywhere. But it's not bad in the Northeast. So if where you are is bad, you can get in your van, turn the key, and drive away. You could go back to the Northeast. You could go up into Canada. Well, you can't. They won't let us in. They're wise people. And so you could, but at any rate, you can find a place. There are places in the backcountry. Look where I am. Do you see a lot of people breathing on me where I'm at? The pandemic has had no effect on me. I'm safe from it because there aren't people around me. And the people that are around me, I have an agreement with them about how we're going to stay safe. And they're careful of themselves, I'm careful of myself, so I can have people around me and not be fearful of the pandemic. And of course, there's always a risk. There's always a risk, but I think the risk is absolutely minimal if you live on wheels and you can drive away from wherever the latest outbreak is. I think that just is common sense. It's bad now and getting worse in a few places. You drive away and it's not a problem. And then let's think about the economy. So as the economy gets better and worse, and it always has, but it's really at a worse now, there are places where it's still not so bad, where there are still jobs. And if you can turn the key and drive away, you can go to a place where you can find a job. And that is pretty much always true. There are exceptions. I mean, during the Great Depression, you couldn't drive away. But let's think about even that. Right after the Great Depression kind of coincided with the Dust Bowl. What did the people in Oklahoma and those Texas and all those places that were so severely, Nebraska, Iowa, the places were tremendously devastated by the Dust Bowl, what did they do? They got in their vehicle and they drove away. We have a historic precedent that in times of total disaster, you get in your vehicle and you drive away. And what did they do? Most of them settled into California and they built new lives. And it was a very hard trip because they weren't prepared. But you and I can be prepared. I've got a van right here in which I am completely comfortable. I have power, I have water, I have food, I can cook, I can go to the bathroom, everything is taken care of. Another Dust Bowl, another pandemic, another natural disaster, I turn the key, I drive away, my life is good. Your life can be good. The safest place you can be is living on wheels today and going forward. It's just that simple. And then finally, we have social and political unrest. And we've seen that like we've never seen it before. It's hard to see what's the path forward in a country as divided as we are. I don't know. I'm not anywhere near smart enough to answer any of these problems. I just know how to deal with them. And if the town where you're at is having riots and you own a house there, you can't just go away. You might come home to a house that's gone. But if you live on wheels and the town where you're at is having riots, what can you do? Oh, what can I do? I can turn the key and drive away. I can be in a place where there aren't riots. So I want you to see that the safest place you can possibly be in 2020 and going on indefinitely is living on wheels. That's a sanctuary. My van is my sanctuary. It's where I go to be safe and secure and happy. And it works. And and I've been talking about this for a long time, and I've met many, many people who fell for the Kool-Aid and have bought in, and they have found their little homes on wheels to be a place of safety and security as well. So I want you to know, if you're writing me and telling me that it's too dangerous now, I'm going to stay in my sticks and bricks, my answer to you is, I think you might be wrong. I think the safest place you can be is a place where you can just turn that key and drive away. Whatever's going on, and there are some really bad things going on, and there's no reason to think they're going to stop anytime soon, the answer is to turn the key and drive away. And I can do that. Now, one problem would be if they ever stop allowing us to travel. That didn't happen, fortunately. There were a few states that closed their borders, but even then you could get in. It just wasn't as easy. And that so far has not happened, and it would be unlikely that that would happen. And if I'm already out in the forest or the desert when that shutdown first happens, then they're still going to let people drive to get food. They're not going to let us all starve to death in our homes when there's food in grocery stores. So that's the last thing that's going to happen. And I don't think that's going to be an issue. There was no mass closure of federal land. Federal land has been just as available, except for campgrounds. All the campgrounds closed, which makes sense. I'm never in a campground. So that had no impact on my life whatsoever. And so I just want you to know that the safest place you can possibly be in 2020 or 2021 or going forward forever is to live on wheels in a van. Tomorrow and in 2022 and 2025 and 2030, you will always be glad that you became a nomad in 2020 or 2021. The world is not going back to normal. It's magical thinking to think it will. So I know this has been kind of a frightening video and a fear video, and I hate doing fear videos. Almost all my videos are offering you a higher quality of life by living in a van. But I want you to know that part of the higher quality of life is safety. And in a world gone mad, the safest place you can be is living in a vehicle. And so I'm encouraging you to be fearful of staying, and you should be. But realize that living in a van is safety. It's sanctuary. It's where you can go and be safe and as secure as a human could be going into the world that's coming our way. So if you got anything out of this video, like us on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, hit that thumbs up, and we'll talk to you on the next video, which will be a lot more normal than this one.